Through the Republic of China in 1925, Chen Yaowen became the only son of a small warlord. At this time, the Northern Expedition was approaching, and the Beiyang forces were ruling the Republic of China. The little devils were watching closely, and the warlord's father passed away unexpectedly. Chen Yaowen succeeded as the temporary governor of Jiaodong Road, but he had not yet become a regular. And how could the demon king Zhang Zongchang come to Shandong province to serve as the governor? Isn't he, the son of the former Jiaodong Road garrison commander, going to pack his bags and leave? Fortunately, the double door with golden fingers opened, connecting Thailand in the 1980s, and his identity in the 1980s turned out to be the Thai royal family, the future commander-in-chief of the Thai army. In the Republic of China, the Guardians dominate the steel torrent of the Titan, MiG jet fighters dominate the sky, bald heads bow and bow, bear and eagle slaughter, the great powers are actually myself. In the 1980s, the real monsters in the East Asian monster room were released, and when Ah-san was scared, his horse stepped on Tokyo. What? How dare the American Emperor's fleet confront me? Capture the princess alive and take control of the White House. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. 14 Years of Han Dynasty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In early 1925, Jinan, Shandong Province. If you ask me, you should invite a foreign doctor to see a doctor. Traditional Chinese medicine knows how to administer medicine, but it's not possible at all. Dr. Yang is far away in Xinjiang, and now Zhang Zongchang is still blocking outside Suzhou City. How can we get there? The noisy voices inside the governor's mansion make people feel uneasy. Chen Yaowen didn't know how long he had been unconscious, only feeling like his mind was pricked with needles and swords. A few strands of consciousness seemed like a battle between heaven and humanity, and it took a long time for them to barely open their eyes. The door in the room was tightly closed, and medical tools such as soup and needles were scattered on the table next to it. A pile of newspapers were scattered in the corner of the table, and several large suitcases were placed under the table, not knowing what was inside. The furniture in the room looked quite outdated. Taking a deep breath, Chen Yaowen flipped down from his gums and peered through the dim yellow light for a while before finally seeing the blurry traditional Chinese characters on the tabloid. In the 14th year of the Han Dynasty, the Grand Commander Cao Kun sent a telegram to go out of power. Wu Peifu was defeated on the front line. Duan Shirui returns to serve as the commander-in-chief, Zhang Zuolin becomes the national sea and land marshal. Southern Revolutionary Party members refuse to acknowledge this appointment and have announced a date for the Northern Expedition. In the 14th year of the Han Dynasty. Did Zhang Zuolin occupy the imperial capital? Chen Yaowen's face tightened, his knuckles slightly turning blue as he pinched the newspaper. He dismantled a pile of newspapers and read them all in both traditional Chinese and English, but his heart was shaken. I actually traveled to Lu province during the Han Dynasty. In 1912, the establishment of the state of Han marked the beginning of the Beiyang government era. After the death of Yuan Shikai, the Beiyang government split into several factions that constantly engaged in internal strife. In 1924, Zhang Zuolin led his army into the border twice, defeated the troops of Wu Peifu, took control of the imperial government, and seized national power. And my current identity is still good, because Chen's father was previously appointed as the garrison commander of Jiaodong Road in Shandong province by the Beiyang government, and his subordinates controlled over 20 counties, which can be considered as a warlord. Chen Yaowen frowned and then opened the large suitcase under the table. First, he saw a black and white photo, picked it up, and under the dim light, Chen Yaowen carefully examined the characters inside. This is a photo of a father and son together. Chen's father is wearing the general uniform of the Beiyang government, not angry but confident. On the side, Chen Yaowen stood half a head taller than his father, dressed in a suit and leather shoes, full of heroic spirit. After seeing the photo, Chen Yaowen's memory of Han gradually came to mind. At the age of 19, Chen's mother passed away early, while Chen's father passed away last month due to years of war and overwork. Chen Yaowen had been studying abroad in a beautiful country all along. When he heard the news that his father was critically ill, he hurried back and met the old man in a hurry. He then took his mantle. In addition to photos, there is also a thumb-sized seal and a magnificent and majestic set of uniforms for Beiyang government officials in the box. Speaking of which, the governor of Jiaodong Road in Shandong province is also a good official. Chen's father governs 20 counties and has a normal annual financial and tax income of over 2 million silver dollars. After turning it over to the central government, there are still several $100,000 silver dollars left. There are 2 mixed brigades under the command of the garrison commander, both of whom are enduring troops. A few years ago, when Chen's father took office, he led his troops all the way from the imperial capital to Jiaodong, and everyone refused. The garrison commander of Jiaodong Road is a high-ranking official in Shandong province, so it seems that I am also lucky. Chen Yaowen couldn't help but sigh. The original time and space where Chen Yaowen was located was in 2023. He is a senior archive researcher specializing in the study of the history of modern times. One day, he traveled to Siam in 1975 due to a mysterious pendant. He was a Siamese Chinese in 1975, and the Chen family controlled the Siamese military government, making him a formidable presence in Siam. As the only son of the Chen family, he has always been trained as the heir of the family. I studied in a beautiful country step by step, served in Siam after returning, and was later awarded a title by the military government until I became the next commander-in-chief of the Siam army. From 2023 to 1975, 2 identities, 2 sets of memories, and a vast era of memories all fused and spread in his mind. Chen Yaowen remembered the mysterious pendant again, unbuttoned his shirt and examined his chest. The pendant had disappeared and was replaced by a door-shaped mark. But when he became aware of it, he found that there was an independent storage space inside the gate-shaped mark, with a volume of about 100,000 cubic meters. He realized that this was a mark that could travel through time and space, allowing him to shuttle back and forth between 2 different times and spaces. One of the spacetimes is the 1975 spacetime, while the other spacetime, according to Chen Yaowen, should be the 2023 spacetime. And when his mind was once again immersed in the depths of the door-shaped imprint, Chen Yaowen found himself feeling light. The crossing gate did not send him back to 2023, but turned back half a century and sent him to the 14th year of the Han Dynasty. The crossing gate is undoubtedly a treasure, but Chen Yaowen found himself unable to return to 2023 and could only travel back and forth between 1975 and 1925. Looking at the stack of newspapers on the table, Chen Yaowen's gaze was profound. From 2023 to 1925, a century of ups and downs in history, with only a few records in archives now vividly appearing before his eyes. Chen Yaowen is very fortunate that he held a good position both in 1975 and in the Han Dynasty. And at this moment, he suddenly heard a burst of voices outside the house. I heard that Marshal Zhang Zongchang has been appointed as the governor of Shandong province. If Zhang Zongchang comes to Shandong province, shouldn't we make room for his subordinates' military leaders? After hearing these words, Chen Yaowen's face stiffened, and his warning rose in his heart. The joy he had just felt was completely gone. After Chen's father passed away, Chen Yaowen only served as the temporary governor of Jiaodong Road and has not yet become a regular. He rushed from Jiaoao to Jinan this time to ensure that the current governor of Shandong province, Zhang Shiqi, would implement his probation. But I never expected that at this time, the demon king Zhang Zongchang would come to Shandong province to serve as the governor. Isn't he, the son of the former Jiaodong Road garrison commander, going to pack his bags and leave? I just wanted to become a warlord and a local emperor, but I didn't expect the reality to be so cruel. Chapter 2. Zhang Zongchang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The heavy door curtain was lifted, and a faint cold wind penetrated through. Under the dim yellow light, Chen Yaowen looked at the person across the table. He is in his 20s, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He should be about the same height as himself, wearing a gray-blue military uniform, holding an armed belt in his right hand, and carrying a kerosene lamp in his left hand. Seeing Chen Yaowen sitting at the table, a look of excitement surged in his face. "Yaowen, you finally woke up. Brother Chen Katong, please take care of me during this period." Chen Yaowen greeted with a smile. The person who came here is his cousin Chen Ku. According to memory, Chen's father relied on family influence for his career. Chen Ku studied at Neon and returned to China before joining his father's personal guard. In recent years, Chen Ku has fought many tough battles with his father and can be considered the #1 warrior who has gone through hundreds of battles. Chen Ku was loyal to Chen's father and son, and after Chen Yaowen collapsed from the funeral, he had been arranging for someone to take care of him. A family is not to be seen outside. Seeing Chen Yaowen regain consciousness, Chen Ku couldn't help but be delighted and put down the kerosene lamp in his hand. Chen Yaowen carefully glanced at the kerosene lamp and found that the base was engraved with a circle of SOCO and a trademark, in English, which moved his heart. "Thank goodness, Yaowen, you finally woke up." The door curtain was lifted again, and this time a young man wearing cotton clothes and glasses entered. "Cousin He-yun, I'm fine now." He-yun is Qin Yu's cousin, who has also studied abroad. A few years ago, after returning to China, he also worked under Chen's father in charge of finance, taxation, money, and grain, as well as commodity cultivation. These two people, one in charge of military affairs and the other in charge of finances, were able to stabilize the overall situation after Chen's father's death, and their skills were not small. This can also be considered as the reserve talents left by Chen's father to Chen Yaowen. The three of them sat still inside the room, chatting for a while before Chen Yaowen took the initiative to start the conversation. "By the way, just now you mentioned that Zongchang is coming to take over as the governor of Shandong province. What's going on? Didn't Jing Shiqi, the governor, report the situation to the general?" Chen Yaowen, as the backbone, is very concerned about this issue. In the future, none of the warlords surnamed Chen in Shandong province had heard of it, and it was basically annexed by Zongchang in 1925. He inherited his current identity and naturally did not want to accept this result. Chen Ku frowned deeply and his face was solemn. "Yaowen, last year Marshal led his army into the border and engaged in a fierce battle with Feng Yuxiang and Wu Peifu. Now that Chao Kun has stepped down and Wu Peifu has been defeated, Marshal will certainly arrange for the Northeast Army to go south to seize territory. So Zongchang has set his sights on Shandong province, and we must make room for the new governor." Chen Yaowen lightly tapped the table, his face dark and unclear. "That's right, after my uncle passed away, you are currently acting as the temporary garrison commander of Jiaodong Road. We rushed from Jiaoao to the Jinan military governor's office, hoping that Jing Shiqi would convert you to a regular position. Who knew Zhang Zongchang had arrived at this moment, and Jing Shiqi himself had no idea. What should we do now?" Chen Ku's expression appeared worried. He had previously discussed this matter with He Yunshan. After Yuan Shikai's death, the administrative divisions of each province were mainly divided into the governor, the garrison commissioner, and the county magistrate. The powers of the garrison commissioner were second only to those of the governor. Chen Yaowen took over the mantle from his father, and if given another 2 years to develop, perhaps he could replace Jing Shiqi and become the new governor of Shandong province. But on a journey of rebirth, the position of the garrison commander is not yet hot. At this time, the chaotic demon King Zhang Zongchang is coming. Should he take the initiative to step down and give away his territory? How could this be possible? After surrendering to Zhang Zongchang, not only will the troops be merged, but even the terrifying territory will be divided by the Northeast Army. Without territory, how can we expand and strengthen the Han Dynasty? Never yield to Zhang Zongchang. Take me to meet Jing Shiqi. Our territory cannot be handed over. It's really speechless. As soon as he was reborn, he encountered someone who was grabbing territory. Chen Yaowen was thinking of a way to get through this level. The first thing is to quickly establish one's identity as a regular employee, so as to have a good reputation and control over more than 20 counties in Jiaodong Road. The second is to resist Zhang Zongchang and not let this guy enter Shandong province as a supervisor, otherwise the territory left by Chen's father will be handed over to others. The most important thing for Han Dynasty to become a warlord is its territory. Lu province has a population of 30 million, with seaports and oil resources, making it particularly suitable for being a base. Chen Yaowen was still thinking of replacing Jing Shiqi in a few years, and now Zhang Zongchang must not be allowed to enter Shandong province to seize power. But as the old saying goes, it's not easy to resist Zhang Zongchang. Chen Yaowen doesn't want to take the lead and must let others take the lead. He Yun and Chen Ku looked at each other. After sighing, he arched his hand at Chen Yaowen and gestured to comply. Before departure, He Yun specially brewed. By the way, Yaowen, when we go to see the governor this time, we need to prepare a little heart so that the governor can inform the imperial capital government that you will become a full member. I have prepared 200,000 silver dollars here. In the third year of the Han Dynasty, the Beiyang government established a silver-based financial system, and the current hard currency in the market is yuan datu. 200,000 silver yuan is about 200,000 taels of silver. It only costs so much to become a regular. Chen Yaowen frowned and asked in response. How many silver dollars are still on Jiaodong Road's account at present? After handling the funeral for my uncle, there are still nearly 2 million silver dollars in my account, He Yun replied. Upon hearing these words, Chen Yaowen couldn't help but sigh and almost fainted again. With only this little family background, how can we grow and strengthen ourselves? We must make money as soon as possible. Don't touch this money for now, I'll talk to Jing Shiqi first. He Yun frowned and said, Yaowen, no matter how we talk about it, it is customary for the Beiyang government to spend money to buy officials. Since Chao Kun bribed the election to become the president, the trend of selling officials and titles in the Beiyang government has become increasingly fierce. Who can avoid the tide of the secular world? But Chen Yaowen never thought of spending money to buy officials. What are you joking about? I only have 2 million yuan, but I used 1/10 of it to buy an official. How can I do big things when I don't have the money? Chapter 3. Reverse squeezing of the governor of Shandong province. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On this trip to see Jing Shiqi, I'm not planning to spend money to buy an official. Instead, I want to supervise the army and allocate funds for Jiaodong Road. He Yun scratched his head with a bewildered expression. No, you asked the governor to allocate funds for Jiaodong Road. This is simply unheard of. The Beiyang government has been established for over a decade and has only heard of local governments paying taxes to the central government. When did there ever be a mention of central government allocating funds to local governments? Chen Yaowen said that the governor of Shandong province had never met him before. If he had met him before, the governor would have allocated funds to the local government long ago. He Yun prepared some simple gifts for Chen Yaowen to take to the governor's mansion, while Chen Ku also organized the guard of the garrison. The group of people rushed forward and behind, looking majestic. At this moment, Chen Yaowen finally found a feeling of being a young commander. Arriving outside the lobby of the governor's mansion, Chen Yaowen asked Chen Ku to disband the guard and only brought a few people inside. After passing through several photo walls, he finally met the leader of the Shandong provincial government. Jing Shiqi. Jing Shiqi, who came from a martial arts examination and had previously studied in a military academy, exuded a strong aura. When he saw Chen Yaowen's visit in the hall, he took the initiative to stand up and take a small step to welcome him. Mingcheng, written by Chen Yaowen, I heard that you have cultivated well and your health is not seriously affected, is it? Chen Yaowen politely greeted, thank you for the care of the governor. Mingcheng is always thinking about how to share the worries and solve the difficulties for the governor. Both sides sat down, and soon someone offered tea, but Zhang Shiqi didn't even want to drink tea at all. He glanced at Chen Ku standing behind Chen Yaowen and then probed. Mingcheng, your father has passed away recently. I would like to recommend you to take over as the garrison commander of Jiaodong Road. What do you think? The trust of the supervisor, sincere gratitude. Chen Yaowen thanked him, but did not show any intention of paying. In fact, he is waiting for Zhang Shiqi to take matters seriously. Currently, the biggest enemy of the Shandong provincial government is Zongchang. If Zhang Shiqi wants to stay as the governor of Shandong province, he must win over local warlords. So Chen Yaowen didn't let He Yun prepare the gift money, and he even had to deceive Zhang Shiqi with a sum of money. The garrison commander held an important position second only to the governor. Upon hearing this, Chen Yaowen's expression remained unchanged, and he did not even pay the customary tribute. Zhang Shiqi felt a bit unhappy in his heart, but he still forcefully suppressed his temper and took a deep breath. According to the news from Suzhou, Zongchang, who served as the deputy commander of the Second Army of the Northeast Army, advanced rapidly and recruited rebels along the way. He expanded 5 armies, claiming to have 100,000 troops and claiming to occupy the territory of Shandong province. Mingcheng, what do you think of this matter? Are we really going to give away Lu province so that Zongchang can ride around our necks and defecate and pee? Bang! Zhang Shiqi became increasingly angry as he spoke, and couldn't help but slap the table, causing the tea to splash. Chen Yaowen pretended to be angry, but he was thinking about how to deceive him next. Zongchang is a faction of the Northeast Army, while Zhang Shiqi is a faction of Sun Chuanfang. At present, Zhang Zuolin and Sun Chuanfang are in a temporary cooperation stage, so it is difficult for the Beiyang government to manage Zongchang's land grab. In the future, Zhang Shiqi hesitated for half a year after receiving the transfer order and reluctantly left. After Zongchang arrived in Shandong province, he led his troops to cause trouble and plundered recklessly. The masses angrily called him the dog meat general, and his reputation was notorious. The land in Shandong province is very good, and Chen Yaowen certainly doesn't want to let go. But currently under the command of Zhang Shiqi, the Shandong provincial army has 1 division, 13 mixed brigades, and 2 independent regiments. These troops are mostly local troops from Shandong province, and the 2 mixed brigades under Chen Yaowen are also included in it. According to the supervisor's instructions, do you want to fight with Zongchang in Suzhou? But the other party claims to have a 100,000 strong army, and our resistance is like using eggs to strike stones. Sigh. Why did the Northeast Army enter the border? Zhang Shiqi pounded his chest and feet, his expression filled with indignation. The territory of Shandong province was indeed good, but since the Han Dynasty, the governor of this place has been taking turns taking office like a horse lantern. I thought I could escape a disaster, but I didn't expect the Northeast Army to defeat Wu Peifu. Now the Northeast Army is at its peak, and Zhang Zuolin has a great power to dominate the world. What if Zhang Shiqi is unwilling? Chen Yaowen thought to himself that prosperity is bound to decline. In 1924, the Northeast Army won consecutive victories. In 1925, Zhang Zuolin seemed to have reached the pinnacle of his power, but at this time, the Northeast Army began to decline. Governor, it is not realistic to confront Zongchang's 100,000 strong army with the power of Lu province, but I have an idea, which is to introduce foreign forces to support Lu province. If it can be achieved, even with Zongchang's 10 courage, I dare not force the governor to step down. Chen Yaowen gave the other party a bad idea, but Zhang Shiqi couldn't help but brighten up after hearing it. Mingcheng, this method is amazing. Drive away tigers and swallow wolves. But how should we contact foreign forces? Do we want to see Jiao again? This is not possible. If we cede Jiaowen again to foreign forces, there is no need for Zongchang's coercion, and the people of Shandong province will make me step down. 10 years ago, the little devils made 21 demands, and directly led Yuan Shikai out of power. Since then, various warlords have dared not openly betray their country. But since Chen Yaowen dares to come up with bad ideas, he naturally has a way. Governor, you don't have to worry about this. I can contact foreign forces on my behalf, just ask the foreign envoy to say something. Zhang Zuolin will never dare to send a large army to attack Lu province. At this point, the governor concentrated his troops again to deal with Zongchang. The enemy had a force of 100,000, but at least 80,000 were a mob that was vulnerable to a single blow. Chen Yaowen spoke confidently, while Chen Ku's eyes widened behind him. When did Yaowen have a relationship with a foreign envoy? Zhang Shiqi was also greatly surprised upon hearing this, and did not expect Chen Yaowen to have such a connection. Mingcheng, then I'll leave it to you to contact the foreign envoy. How much does it cost to establish a relationship? Chen Yaowen and others said, Governor, foreign envoys rarely express their opinions on the affairs of the Beiyang government, so it may take $2 million silver to establish relations. $2 million silver. Isn't that too much? Zhang Shiqi took a deep breath. The foreign envoy asked for 2 million taels of silver in just one sentence, which is really a golden word. Seeing Zhang Shiqi hesitating, Chen Yaowen quickly fooled and said, Commander-in-Chief, the most important thing at the moment is to find a support. With a support, we can maintain our position. If Zongchang were to arrive in Shandong province, there would be nothing left. Chapter 4. Empty-handed White Wolf, $2 million silver. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhang Shiqi, the leader of the old army, had an unknown amount of silver in his hand. Chen Yaowen had no intention of paying tribute to him and had to turn around and squeeze this guy. $2 million silver is not a small sum of money, but Zhang Shiqi can definitely take it out. But this money is also too much. By the way, Mingcheng, is your relationship reliable? This is a big deal related to the Northeast Army. Zongchang is backed by the Northeast Army, which is supported by the people of Dongyang. Can Chen Yaowen's relationship surpass that of the Neon people? Chen Yaowen said solemnly, Don't worry, the governor. I have a relationship with the minister of the beautiful country, Mamurue. All I need is for him to say hello to the Grand Marshal in the imperial capital and ensure that the Neon people don't dare to explode and stab him. If this matter cannot be accomplished, the governor will immediately dismiss me from my position, and I have nothing to say. After hearing these words, Zhang Shiqi felt completely relieved and pondered for a moment. Mingcheng, then I'll leave this matter to you. I'll have someone remit $2 million silver to you, and the account is at HSBC Foreign Company. By the way, I will also report the position of the garrison commander of Jiaodong Road to the imperial government, and you will receive the news soon. Thank you for the governor's trust. As Chen Yaowen saw that he was about to secure the position of $2 million silver and the position of garrison commander, he quickly said a few nice words to the other party. At this moment, Chen Ku was all confused. According to tradition, the officials had to pay a gift to the top commander, but the 200,000 silver yuan prepared by He Yun was not used. Now the commander has to give Chen Yaowen 2 million silver yuan in return. Mingcheng, how much more trouble you need to worry about this matter? After discussing the main matter, Zhang Shiqi picked up a tea bowl. Chen Yaowen immediately understood and stood up to take the initiative to bid farewell. Looking at the backs of Chen Yaowen and his group, Zhang Shiqi scratched his head. This kid is clearly here to send money to himself, but it seems that something is wrong now. Chen Ku felt that he didn't have enough brain seeds left. After coming out of the military governor's office, he told He Yun about this matter. He Yun was greatly shocked and urgently asked, Yaowen, how did this really happen? The governor really agreed to give us 2 million silver dollars. When did you meet the minister of the beautiful country, Mamurue? Why did he speak to us? Chen Yaowen's face remained calm and composed. Zhang Shiqi couldn't bear to leave Shandong province. There must be a war between him and Zhang Zongchang. He used to worry about Zhang Zuolin's attitude, but now I let him have no worries. 2 million silver dollars are worth it. As for the beautiful ambassador Mamurue, I don't actually know this person either, but soon we will get to know him. After hearing this, Chen Ku and He Yun were shocked. They didn't expect Chen Yaowen to be so bold. He refused to give a gift of 200,000 silver dollars and instead extorted 2 million silver dollars from the governor. He Yun pushed his glasses and said, "Yaowen, you're just an empty-handed white wolf." "Nonsense, I'm here to help the governor solve problems." Chen Yao was straightforward and resolute. After leaving the military governor's office, Chen Yaowen discussed with the three of them. The matter of becoming a regular employee has also been completed, and I also made 2 million silver dollars in Jinan. I'm afraid Zhang Shiqi will argue with Zhang Zongchang in the future. Let's go back to our own safe area in Jiaodong. Chen Kishuan asked, "Yaowen, don't we plan to send troops to assist Zhang Shiqi in the battle?" Upon hearing this, Chen Yaowen glared at him and said, "Zhang Shiqi is at war with Zhang Zongchang. It's none of our business." Chen Yaowen had no intention of sending troops to help Zhang Shiqi at all. He fooled around at the military governor's office, first to make money, and second to make Zhang Shiqi stand up against Zhang Zongchang. Both of these people want to be the governor of Shandong province, and in Chen Yaowen's eyes, they are birds of a feather. I don't need to help Zhang Shiqi, I even have to get involved with Zhang Zongchang, so that I can profit from it. Chen Yaowen packed several large suitcases and gave instructions with a few items. He Yun, take my seal and personally go to the treasury to collect the 2 million silver yuan seal, and then return directly to Jiaodong. Chen Ku, you have a wide network in Shandong province. Do you know which foreign company sells these kerosene lamps? Contact the supervisor of this company as soon as possible. I have important matters to discuss with them. Chen Yaowen doesn't know the beautiful national envoy Mamurue, which requires a middleman to lead the bridge and connect the lines. At first, when Chen Yaowen saw the kerosene lamp, he had a plan in his mind. Now that 2 million silver dollars have been fooled from Zhang Shiqi's hands, he must establish a good relationship with the other party and let the beautiful national envoy stabilize Zhang Zuolin, so that Zhang Shiqi can let go and fight against Zhang Zongchang. Chen Yaowen asked them to quickly go and find someone to handle matters. At this moment, the two of them were still a bit confused. Chen Yaowen's series of arrangements made it impossible to guess his thoughts at all. I just bought 2 million silver dollars from Zhang Shiqi, and now I have to urgently look for a kerosene lamp company. What exactly is this about? What is the relationship between the kerosene lamp company and the Minister of the United States, Mamurue? With doubts in their hearts, the two hurriedly left the military governor's office, and Chen Yaowen boarded the train with the escort of the guards, returning from Jinan to Jiaoao. The Jiaoao fortress was previously occupied by the Germans, who built a large number of defensive works here. They attach great importance to the Jiaozhou Bay, a good port in the Far East. 10 years ago, the Neon people occupied this place again and established many factories. A few years ago, after the Neon people withdrew, the Beiyang government even established a tax bureau here. So compared to the other three prefectures, Jiaodong Road can be said to be a fertile land with well-developed urban construction, a wide variety of light industries, and excellent ports. Chen Yaowen cannot give up this place. Returning to his own territory, Chen Yaowen specifically talked to He Yun about the idea of expanding the Jiaoao industrial zone. According to his idea, the entire Shandong province will become a heavy industrial base in the future, and he will use the industrial power of the 1970s to achieve preliminary industrialization in Shandong province. But when He Yun heard this, he shook his head and said, "Yaowen, you studied abroad in a beautiful country before and didn't know about the government situation. Because factories and docks are crowded places, it's inevitable that various gangs will run rampant. A female worker earns a monthly salary of $10 silver, but after being skinned layer by layer, she only has $5 silver left. These rogue gangs are pressuring workers, so revolutionary parties often cause trouble." Chapter 5. Establishment of East China Normal University and East China National Defense. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After hearing this, Chen Yaowen frowned and quickly stopped the other person's conversation. During the Han Dynasty, it was true that people were cannibalistic. In the future, it was said that the gang in Xinjiang was rampant, but compared to the Han Dynasty, it was not worth mentioning at all. Moreover, the reason for the rampant gang is inseparable from the garrison commander, and perhaps the gang will also pay taxes to the garrison commander. So, is the root still on ourselves? He Yun nodded, his face solemn. Yaowen, in fact, the situation in Jiaodong Road is quite good. If we changed to another place, the army would be no different from bandits. The reason is insufficient finance and taxes, and not enough money to raise soldiers. Chen Yaowen just obtained $2 million silver from Zhang, which seems quite a lot, but in fact, raising an elite division requires $3 million silver per year. Now Chen Yaowen only has 2 regiments under his command, and his plan is to expand the army by 2 divisions. This money is not enough no matter how he looks at it. He Yun, if the army only knows how to squeeze the people, where does combat effectiveness come from? I plan to follow the example of the Guangdong Provincial Revolutionary Party, open new style schools, hire foreign instructors, and mainly cultivate qualified officers to replace the existing old army. Another issue is that there are too few educational talents and the literacy rate of the public is too low. Apart from the military academy, I intend to establish a university specifically to cultivate educational talents. The establishment of Huanpu Military Academy and Sun Yat-sen University in 1924 was only possible with a gift of $2.7 million silver from the Soviet Union and a monthly subsidy of 100,000 yuan. There were 3 major military academies in Han Dynasty: Baoding Military Academy, and Huanpu Military Academy. Among them, Baoding Military Academy has the longest history and the best teaching quality, but it was discontinued in 1923. So in 1924, Mr. Sun chose to cooperate with the Red Party and received assistance from the Soviet Union, establishing 2 universities to cultivate talents. The first phase of Huanpu has been recruiting since May last year. After 6 months of intensive learning, the first batch of students have graduated and are now estimated to be training the second phase of Huanpu. Chen Yaowen needs to seize the time to establish a military academy now. There are many talented people in the 3rd and 4th phases of Huanpu. These people have not yet gone to Huanpu Military Academy. As long as Chen Yaowen lays out his plans earlier, he can still network some military talents. Yaowen, in fact, military academies and Chinese language schools are being established in various provinces and regions, but they are often at a disadvantage because military academies require a considerable amount of development funds. During the Beiyang government period, various separatist warlords actively built their own air forces and aviation schools. In May 1916, the Revolutionary Party Flight School was relocated to Weixian County, Shandong Province to form the Overseas Chinese Volunteer Corps Aircraft Team to participate in the struggle against Yuan while conducting flight training. However, it was quickly disbanded in June of the same year. Among them, the aviation school founded by Zhang in Dongta, Shenyang in 1922, and the aviation school founded by the Guangdong Provincial Aviation Bureau in Dashadu in 1924 were relatively large in scale, with a large number of talents, and well run. Zhang is not short of money, coupled with technical support from Neon people. The Revolutionary Party has the support of the Soviet Union, which is why they were able to continue running a military academy. Now, Chen Yaowen has a sudden idea to run a military academy. Where do the funds and technical talents come from? Chen Yaowen didn't expect that there would be an aviation school in Jiaodong, which is quite convenient now. He Yun, you don't have to worry about the funding and instructors. I will solve these two problems. Now you need to take the lead in organizing manpower and selecting the school address in advance. I am planning to invest $3 million to establish East China Normal University and East China National Defense University. Normal schools will cultivate educational talents, while National Defense University will cultivate officers in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Only with officers can we thoroughly reform the existing old-fashioned army and improve its combat effectiveness. Officers of all sizes are the foundation of a unit, and Chen Yaowen mainly cultivates loyal officers so that he can fully grasp the unit. Is it appropriate to invest $3 million? Besides, we still have 2 mixed travelers to support. After spending this money, we only have $1 million left in our accounts. What should we do if there is an unexpected situation? He Yun said anxiously. Chen Yaowen patted the old man's shoulder and said, He Yun, the Southern Revolutionary Party has already trained the first batch of students. We are still struggling with this money. If we really want the Revolutionary Party to launch the Northern Expedition, do you think Xing Shiqi and Zhang Zongchang are opponents? It has to be said that the students of the first phase of Huangpu were really fierce, and old Zhang's Northern Expedition was almost as simple as chopping melons and vegetables. The Northern Expedition Army set off from Guangdong Province and marched all the way to the Jiangsu and Zhejiang regions, but Sun Chuanfang suffered a disastrous defeat. From the Jiangsu and Zhejiang regions to Hebei, Wu Peifu suffered a disastrous defeat, then he went from the Hebei region to the imperial capital. After being beaten up, Zhang Zuolin ran back to the northeast and was killed by Neon people halfway through. As for warlords like Zhang Zongchang, they were even beaten up by the Northern Expedition Army to the point of doubting their lives. It can be said that with the help of Huangpu students, Lao Jiang is simply invincible in the world, governing all kinds of disobedience. What about Zhang Zuolin's army of hundreds of thousands? Are you still going to get beaten up? So at this time, the funds for establishing a military academy cannot be saved. If we want to save money now, 2 years later, the Northern Expedition Army will come to Shandong province. Not only will the money not be retained, but even the territory cannot be preserved. Chen Yaowen can only go to the concession to make a living. Fortunately, He Yun also understood this truth: the Revolutionary Party cannot do anything else, it has destructive power. We established military academies to protect ourselves. The selection of principals for those 2 schools. Chen Yaowen straightened his chest and took out a resolute attitude, saying, I'll work harder. The presidents of East China Normal University and East China National Defense University will let me take on the role. He Yun. Saying you're fat and you're panting. People are tight, mainly because people are tight. I will personally take charge of the principal's work in the early stage, and we will wait until there are suitable candidates in the later stage. After hearing this, He Yun shook his head in silence and continued. Yaowen, you want to replace the old-style army with new officers, not only to improve combat effectiveness, but also to eliminate social chaos, right? What should these skinny and cramped gang members do? Chen Yaowen thought for a moment, and now that the new army has not yet formed, hasty action may cause backlash, but it must also be deterred, otherwise such chaos will be of no benefit to his industrialization plan. Moreover, eliminating social chaos can also bring a wave of good reputation, which can be considered a godsend for the enrollment of the 2 universities. Chapter 6. Return to Siam in 1975. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. He Yun, first take the lead in establishing a media organization, or media company, to distribute newspapers under the official name of Jiaodong, called National Daily. Let the National Daily first expose the crimes of these gang members to the public. If they have restrained themselves and voluntarily pay the illegally obtained property, then they should be lenient. If there are still those who are stubborn, please write down your name and I will have Chen Kui use thunderous tactics to kill chickens and warn monkeys. Establishing a media company is to control public opinion, which is too important. Currently, the Beiyang government and various celebrities run tabloids, with little official support and low credibility. Chen Yaowen established his own media company in advance, which is both his own mouthpiece and a weapon for public opinion to counterattack. As long as the audience of the media company is large enough, in the future, Chen Yaowen can even use this media company to confront foreign powers, and even give them a color revolution or something. He quickly took note of this series of instructions, and he still had some confusion about the media company. Yaowen, are the newspapers and magazines sold by this media company only circulating within the territory of Shandong province? Of course not. The wider the circulation range and the greater the influence of the national daily, the better. You can invite some celebrities to comment on current events and publish articles in the newspaper. Remember to publish articles in plain Chinese, which can be understood by rural elderly women. In addition to publishing newspapers, media companies can also introduce some movies for screening in Jiaodong. People of all social classes need entertainment, and watching movies is currently the best way of entertainment. In 1925, the entire city of Zongchang had 27 cinemas, accounting for 1/3 of the market share of the entire Han cinema. In the 1930s, Zongchang became the center for film screening and distribution in Han. Chen Yaowen made a series of arrangements with the aim of seizing the high ground of public opinion. If he does not occupy this high ground himself, others will come to occupy it. Of course, this series of transaction arrangements has brought great pressure to Heyun, making the already financially poor Jiaodong even worse. There's no way, let's put aside the movie for now. Let's take a look at the effect of the national daily first. In addition to establishing schools and media organizations, Chen Yaowen also arranged other things for Heyun, which were to find skilled watchmakers in Zongchang and to arrange a large factory in Jiaowel. Chen Yaowen was of great use. Heyun didn't know what he was going to do, anyway, he just followed the arrangements made by the garrison commander one by one. After his busy schedule, Jiaodong's finances have sharply shrunk, and Chen Yaowen will have to find a way to make money again. 1975, Bangkok, Siam. After arranging the affairs of Jiaodong, Chen Yaowen used the crossing gate to return to Siam. On this trip, he was preparing to bring some industries to Han to make money. The Chen family has a large estate in Bangkok, which looks ordinary from the inside, but if you look outside, you will know it is an invisible bunker. There are several helicopter aprons inside this large estate, and there are 24-hour patrols by constitutional police outside. Vehicles entering and exiting need to be closely inspected. The meeting of the military government leaders is basically not held in the National Defense Building, but within the Chen family, which can be said to be more like a national center than the Grand Palace in Bangkok. In the study room. Marshal, these are news about the military. I have summarized them and you can take a look. Across from Chen Yaowen stood a burly soldier, whose camouflage military uniform was almost torn apart by his muscles. General Gan Langi, I haven't been officially appointed yet, so there's no need to call me Major Marshal. I'll change this title. Chen Yaowen picked up the document with a somewhat helpless expression on his face. His father Chen is the head of the Chen family and also the Grand Marshal of Siam, land, sea, and air. As the heir of the family, he is often referred to as the Major Marshal. In fact, Chen was the last Grand Marshal who passed away recently due to illness. Since then, Siam has hardly been awarded the rank of Marshal, and the military position of the head of the military government has been changed to Commander-in-Chief of the Army. Tai Gan Langi smiled and said, "Young Marshal, it will be a matter of time before you award the title of Marshal." With the support of the military and the collective support of Chinese wealthy businessmen, the Marshal Medal of Pumapong, King of Thailand, is ready. Alright, let me take a look at the situation of the military first. Chen Yaowen smiled non-committally, interrupting the other person's words. He was too clear about Pumapong's thoughts. When he first met Ganlangi, Chen Yaowen was quite surprised because he remembered that he would become the commander-in-chief of the Siamese army in the early 1980s. From the resume of a Thai Ganlangi, it can be seen that during his participation in the Korean War in 1950, he served as the captain of the assault team, the commander of the Imperial Weapon Company, the staff officer for combat training, the head of the technical training department, and the commander of the infantry battalion. From the 1950s to the 1980s, Ganlangi's military development was mainly supported by the Chen family, so he was loyal to the Chen family. In the 1980s, he was able to serve as the head of the Siamese military government, which was naturally recommended by the Chen family. Before Chen passed away, he deliberately placed Ganlangi by Chen Yaowen's side, which also had the idea of assisting him. In 1932, Siam erupted in the constitutional revolution, abolishing the absolute monarchy of the Bangkok dynasty and establishing a constitutional monarchy. After World War II, the Cold War began. The beautiful country began to enter, and Siam became an extremely important military ally of the beautiful country on the Indochina Peninsula. In 1975, there were waves in the relationship between the United States and Siam, and the U.S. military finally withdrew completely from Siam. The Siamese armed forces are the Royal Siamese Army, divided into 3 armies: sea, land, and air. The total active force is 299,000, and the Siamese paramilitary forces have 18,000 border patrol officers, 50,000 local police officers, and several village defense units with a reserve of 500,000 personnel. It is said that Annam is the small hegemon of Southeast Asia, but in fact, I have high expectations of him. Siam is the small hegemon of Southeast Asia, and in terms of military organization, weapons and equipment, military combat effectiveness, national GDP, and so on, Siam surpasses Annam. Overall, Siam's military strength is not advanced worldwide, but it is second only to Indonesia in Southeast Asia. General Ganlangi, have there been any changes after the merger of South Vietnam and North Vietnam? For example, increasing troops on the border between Cambodia and Laos, or purchasing advanced weapons in the Soviet Union. Chen Yaowen was very concerned about Annam's movements. In the early 1970s, the United States withdrew its troops from the Annam battlefield until the merger of Vietnam and Vietnam in 1975. However, Annam had great ambitions and began to think of invading neighboring countries after completing national reunification. Chapter 7. Advance Preparation for the Annam War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On December 25, 1978, the government of Lai Sun in Annam concentrated 18 infantry divisions, 15 brigades, and 1 aviation division, with a total of 250,000 troops, to launch a comprehensive invasion of Cambodia and Laos. Due to Annam's deployment into Cambodia and Laos, Siam and Annam also experienced multiple small-scale conflicts between Cambodia and Laos, which lasted until 1987. To be honest, Annam did not take advantage of the war with Siam and was instead beaten up by Siam. However, Chen Yaowen intended to use this war to gain power, so he paid special attention to Annam's movements. Ganlangi scratched his head and said, "There has been no change in Annam's side for the time being, but Cambodia is very chaotic domestically." Ganlangi analyzed a lot and said that Annam has just completed reunification and national strength has not fully recovered, so he should not have the courage to cause trouble. But Chen Yaowen still asked him to keep an eye on Annam. "General Ganlangi, if there is any abnormality in Annam, it is a big matter of war. Don't let down your guard. I estimate that the government of Lai Sun will provoke at the border in at most 2 years. We need to deploy defensive forces in the northeast direction of the Laos border and the southeast direction of the Cambodia border to be vigilant. If there is any abnormality in Annam, we will directly cross the border and attack them." Upon hearing these words, Ganlangi's eyes widened as he couldn't believe that the government of Lai Sun would openly invade the 2 neighboring countries. Young Marshal, should we reconsider this matter? Gan Longyi, let's do as I say. The government of Lai Sun thinks it has defeated the US military and claims to be the world's third military power. Coupled with the support of the Soviet Union, it's simply unbearable. If we don't be prepared in advance, we will inevitably be attacked by the Annam side in a few years. If Laos and Cambodia are invaded, we will border with Annam, which will be of no benefit to us. Chen Yaowen's voice became a bit serious. Gan Longyi's expression trembled upon hearing this, and he quickly nodded to agree to it. Marshal, Annam's wolves have ambitions. They launched a war to invade neighboring countries. We must purchase new weapons and increase defense spending in preparation for war. General Gan Longyi, expand the army appropriately and invest 200,000 yuan in the reserve within 3 years. The reserve personnel are mainly recruited from the Chinese ethnic group, and I will be responsible for purchasing weapons. By the way, remember to maintain a good relationship with Daxia. Annam is not well liked and will definitely provoke trouble at the Daxia border. Chen Yaowen knew that Daxia would launch a self-defense counterattack against Vietnam in 1979, but this battle was actually very tough. Now let Gan Longyi contact Daxia in advance to avoid misunderstandings when fighting Annam in the future. Gan Longyi took note of these words, then talked to Chen Yaowen about other things and hurriedly left the study. The fact that Annam is attempting to invade Laos and Cambodia is too great, and the Siamese side must prepare early. After seeing off Gan Longyi, Chen Yaowen was thinking about how to deal with Annam. The ambition of the Lai Sun government was to dominate the southeast peninsula, so how could Chen Yaowen give him a chance? Now we need to deploy our defenses in advance. It's best for the Lai Sun government to invade Laos and Cambodia first. After the two neighboring countries are invaded by Annam, Chen Yaowen will directly ask Gan Longyi to send troops to rescue them. Turn Annam upside down and replace it with dominating the Indochinese peninsula on your own. However, expanding the army requires money, and this matter still needs to be considered in the long run. After seeing off Gan Longyi, Chen Yaowen summoned another person. Marshal, please take a look at the recent accounts of Bangkok Bank to see if there are any errors. Chen Baikan was almost 70 years old, with silver hair all over his head. After receiving a call from the marshal's office, he hurriedly came to meet Chen Yaowen. You're welcome, Sir Chen, please take a seat. Chen Yaowen warmly greeted the other party, and Chen Baikan was also considered a member of his own family, both of Siamese Chinese descent, but he held the cash cow of Bangkok Bank in his hands. Chen has been in control of the military government for many years, leaving his son Gan Longyi in charge of military affairs, while Chen Baikan is in charge of finance. Bangkok Bank is the largest bank in Siam, with assets exceeding $8 billion in the early 1980s. After World War II, Chen Baikan and a group of Chinese people started a bank in Chinatown. With the support of the Chen family, the Bangkok Bank became a behemoth. Chen Baikan also relied on the support of the military government, gained fame, and was awarded the Knight's Medal by Mobil. After sitting down, Chen Baikan smiled and said, Marshal, as you instructed before, Bangkok Bank has further expanded its loan asset scale by acquiring other small banks and has begun to gather foreign exchange. At present, there are over $1 billion in foreign exchange reserves. At the same time, I have also persuaded other Chinese billionaires to deposit US dollars into their Bangkok bank accounts, with over $2 billion available for use. Sir Chen, you are a talented person in the financial field. I can rest assured that Bangkok Bank is in your hands. There are several things that I came to see you about today. One is that the government is preparing to expand its military by 200,000 in the next 3 years. In terms of finance, Bangkok Bank and the Central Bank of Siam need to coordinate. The expansion is mainly to deal with Phu Annam, and the government of Lai Sun is likely to invade Laos and Cambodia. We need to prepare early. What? Lai Sun has this ambition, he dares to launch a war to invade neighboring countries. Chen Baikan was jumped. Laos and Cambodia are strategic buffer zones for Siam. Once Annam invades these two countries, Siam will be very passive. Sir Chen, General Lanyi has already known about this matter. Please keep it confidential and coordinate with the finance department as much as possible. Chen Yaowen nodded, his heart beating a bit faster, and he immediately asked, Marshal, what about the content of the second matter? The second thing. You go talk to Rolex and ask them to transfer 2 movement production lines to Bangkok. In the future, we will independently contract Rolex watches. Chen Yaowen was holding a Rolex watch in his hand, thinking of other things in his heart. Chen Yaowen was slightly taken aback and said, Marshal, there is a Rolex parts outsourcing factory in Bangkok. We have been providing watch-making parts to Rolex headquarters. Why do we need to make watches independently now? Rolex Global Headquarters, responsible for the management, research and development, design, promotion, operation, and after-sales service activities of the group, and collect parts from manufacturers in other countries for the final assembly of the watch and quality control of the finished watch. Chapter 8. Bring Rolex to the state of Han to sell. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There is a watch-making parts OEM factory in Siam, which can independently produce large watches. It also specializes in providing watch parts to Rolex. And the core component of Rolex is the movement, which is their self-produced part. With the core component, all Rolex watches need to be produced from their headquarters in Geneva. After hearing this, Chen Yaowen had some doubts. Marshal, for decades, Rolex watches have been assembled in Geneva. Now we demand independent production of finished products. What if they don't agree? Chen Yaowen had a solution for a long time. Sir Chen, Rolex's biggest buyer is the Pumapong family, and there are also some Chinese billionaires. These are their customer groups. You can directly talk to Rolex and say that Bumabal really likes Rolex watches and hopes to place the movement industry chain in Bangkok, allowing Bangkok to independently produce watches. If Rolex refuses this request, it would be a slap in the face of Bumabal, and it would also offend a large group of wealthy Siamese. After all, these people are loyal customers. Rolex doesn't even give this face. It is definitely not possible to negotiate with Rolex as an ordinary person, but Bumabal is different. He is a symbol of a country and a spokesperson for Rolex, with great influence. Pumapong is equivalent to Rolex's top-ranking brother. What are you still hesitant about doing when Big Brother Rank 1 invites you out for a heart-to-heart talk? After hearing these words, Chen Yaowen was amazed. Why didn't he think of this solution? Marshal, I understand what you mean, but transferring the movement industry chain may require some money. What's the cost? We're using the name of Pumapong to let Rolex transfer the movement industry chain. This is a face bonus for Rolex. I didn't even ask Rolex for endorsement fees, it's considered good. Surprisingly, we still want money. As soon as Chen Yaowen spoke, Chen Yaowen was overshadowed by thunder. It's okay if you don't spend money on buying things. Surprisingly, you have to ask the seller to give you a discount. Wow, this time it's really eye-catching. It took Chen Yaowen a while before he realized. He remembered Chen Yaowen's words, and then he talked about another thing. Young Marshal, after the death of the Grand Marshal, it seems that Bumabal had many criticisms towards the Marshal's mansion. It is normal for Bumabal to be dissatisfied with the military government. After all, the military government frequently engages in coups and tries various ways to clean up the Siamese royal family. Now the king is the mascot, and seeing Chen pass away, Pumapong wanted to test Chen Yaowen's reaction. Chen Yaowen sneered, Sir Chen, the military government will eventually replace Bumabal, but it's just not yet the time. Bumabal has been secretly stirring up trouble, and in 2006, he instigated the military government to launch a coup, forcing Thaksin to step down. Afterwards, the Thai king regained control of military power. Now Chen Yaowen cannot give Bumabal a chance. Taking advantage of the Annam invasion war in a few years, he will completely replace the Rama dynasty in Siam. Chen Baikan represents Chinese billionaires, Don Langi represents the military, and Chen Yaowen controls the Siamese military government. In terms of real power, he is more like a Thai king than Bhumibol, and now he is just one battle away from establishing power. A few years later, Annam was about to die and launch an aggressive war, and the military government's overthrow of Annam greatly boosted its prestige. It was not difficult to replace Bhumibol. Chen Baikan nodded. These people had already planned this matter, but they just couldn't find the opportunity. Now Chen Yaowen had a plan in his mind, and they just needed to follow the orders of the marshal's office. After arranging a series of military and financial matters, Chen Yaowen finally took a break and went to a watch contract factory in Bangkok to inspect. In fact, the watchmaking industry in Siam is quite developed, and Siam Rolex uses the same high-quality materials and craftsmanship as Geneva Rolex. Every watch needs to undergo strict testing and quality inspection, ensuring excellent product quality at every stage. Due to the lower production costs in Siam, Rolex from Siam is also more affordable in price compared to Rolex from Geneva. Moreover, Siamese Rolex engineers are constantly studying the internal structure and mechanical systems of watches, striving to develop more advanced, durable, and precise movements. Although Siamese Rolex is rarely known, there is not much difference in manufacturing performance and watch quality compared to Geneva Rolex. Chen Yaowen actually doesn't have a deep understanding of watches, but he knows that this thing was definitely in high demand during the Han Dynasty. In fact, not only in the Han Dynasty, but also in the summer of the 1970s, this high-end watch had a great market. The industrial chain of Rolex factories in Siam is complete, and they can provide 500,000 watch parts annually. This production capacity is already considered sufficient. Chen Yaowen asked engineers to organize a set of production equipment for watches, and then just wait for the movement industry chain to arrive in Bangkok. He can bring the entire industry chain back to Han and launch the watch into the market to make money. Chen Baikan's ability to handle affairs is very good. Following Chen Yaowen's negotiation ideas, Rolex headquarters agreed to transfer 2 movement industry chains. Chen Yaowen instructed Chen Baikan to vigorously produce Rolex watches. With the technology and industry chain in the OEM factory, they could create their own brand. Watches produced in Siam were very popular in the 1970s and even became popular during the Han Dynasty. Han Dynasty, Jiaodong. After Chen Yaowen returned to the state of Han, he immediately found He-yun. Yaowen, live up to your expectations. The first edition of the National Daily has finally been sorted out, and the site selection for 2 universities has also been finalized. The university is located within Jiaodong, and I had someone expand the original school and enclose a residential area, making the school look presentable. He-yun has been exhausted lately, and when reporting on his work, he looks tired. Chen Yaowen listened carefully to the work report and kept nodding in his heart. Establishing 2 schools was his top priority. Chapter 9. Chen Ku returns. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Although Jiaodong School is far inferior to Tsinghua Park, it is not for people to study here, but for the purpose of quickly cultivating talents. The environment at Huanpu Military Academy was even more rudimentary, and it wasn't because it had trained a large number of talents. Now that the school environment has improved, Chen Yaowen asked He-yun to prepare for enrollment. By the way, have you completed the watchmaker and factory I asked you to find last time? He-yun nodded and said, this matter is already done, but what do you want a watchmaker to do? We don't have production equipment and can't make watches on a large scale. Do you still want to introduce watchmaking equipment from Zongchang? Chen Yaowen pursed his lips. The watchmaking equipment during the Han Dynasty was too poor, and he was not uncommon. Now he has a watchmaking equipment that is half a century ahead of him. Take it out and hang it directly from all watch brands in the market. He-yun, I have obtained a set of watchmaking equipment from other places and plan to open a watchmaking factory in Jiaodong. The equipment will soon arrive in Jiaodong. Please pay attention to organizing workers' production. Is that right? I will definitely focus on making watches. By the way, how do we sell the watches we produce? He-yun did not carefully inquire where the watchmaking equipment came from, and Chen Yaowen arranged many things for him. During this time, he has been busy like a dog. You don't have to worry about sales matters. Calculating the time, Chen Ku should be back now. Chen Yaowen had a smile on his face as the watchmaking factory was in place and the sales of watches were about to be implemented. After discussing with He-yun, Chen Yaowen also made a special trip to the factory and took advantage of the absence of anyone to release the watchmaking equipment from the storage space. 2 days later, the workers arrived one after another and were amazed to see the complete set of watchmaking equipment placed in the factory building, unable to speak. Especially since this type of watchmaking equipment is extremely advanced, it has never been seen in Shenzhen before. Chen Yaowen even explained to the workers how to operate these devices. After half a month of busy work in the factory, the Jiaodong watchmaking factory finally entered production mode. However, due to reasons such as unskilled workers, the current annual production of watches is only 200,000. This output may not be impressive in the future, but it was already very good during the Han Dynasty. Chen Yaowen asked He-yun to continue recruiting workers, and he also needed to continuously increase the production of watches. At present, it seems that there are many watches with an annual output of 200,000, but in fact, watches are very popular in China. In the late 1920s, foreign-funded companies sold 100,000 watches in just 1 year in Shenzhen. The domestic market is so huge, let alone the foreign market, so Chen Yaowen needs to increase the production of watches as soon as possible in order to earn more money. Not long after arranging for the watchmaking factory, someone came to report, and Chen Ku returned with a group of foreigners. Upon hearing this news, Chen Yaowen's expression lit up and he quickly had someone prepare for the reception. He was not busy going out to welcome the guests, but instead sat quietly in the office for a while. After waiting for a while, he had an extra high-end watch on his wrist, and Chen Yaowen, wearing the watch, had even more outstanding temperament. At this moment, there was a bang-bang knocking on the door. After the waiter opened the door, Chen Yaowen saw a group of foreigners wearing suits. Chen Ku in the crowd looked tired and had a scruffy beard, indicating that he had indeed put in a lot of effort to find someone during this time. Chen Yaowen nodded at Chen Ku, gesturing for him to rest for a while. Chen Ku did not immediately say goodbye, but leaned in his ear and said a few words. Yaowen, the person you asked me to find is not easy. The person in charge is a distinguished guest from the Jinan consulate, named P.J. Parker. He is the president of Mobil's business in China and has a big background. When Chen Yaowen heard the word Mobil company, his pupils slightly narrowed. He thought to himself, as expected, Chen Ku really found the right person. Chen Yaowen patted the other person's shoulder and said, "Thank you for your hard work. Let me handle the rest." Yaowen, you don't want to empty-handed trap the white wolf from Westerners, do you? They are not easy to deceive, don't act recklessly, Chen Ku said with some unease. Chen Yaowen said with a stern face, Chen Ku, listen to what you're saying. How could I possibly use my bare hands to lure a white wolf? I'm in serious business with Westerners. Chen Ku couldn't imagine how serious this business was. He greeted everyone and left the conference room with a group of foreigners. Now there are only 3 foreigners left in the room, and Chen Yaowen smiled at a bearded man in his 40s. President Parker, welcome to Jiaodong. I am Chen Yaowen, the regional governor here, and I have specially invited you to come as guests. Chen Yaowen warmly greeted in English. When shaking hands, he deliberately exposed the high-end watch on his wrist, and the exquisite dial caught the attention of several people. Chen, I am surprised that you are so young. Your English is very fluent. I am P.J. Parker, employed by Mr. John Rockefeller Jr., and currently serve as the president of the China business of Mobil Company. Parker held the other's hand, thinking that the ruler of Jiaodong was an old warlord. But he didn't expect to be a young man proficient in English, which gave him a sense of anticipation. Chen Yaowen observed that when Parker introduced himself, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl slightly, indicating that he was very proud of his current identity. It is indeed so, after all, both Mobil and John Rockefeller are well known. John the Elder founded Standard Oil Company, predecessor of ExxonMobil, in 1870. He was the first billionaire of the 19th century and was known as the Oil King. And Mobil is a super-monopolistic giant, occupying 90% of the refining market in the United States, and selling over 50% of the world's kerosene lamps. Mobil not only promotes its products within the beautiful country, but also promotes kerosene lamps in Europe and Asia. Mobil has established a comprehensive sales network worldwide through its kerosene lamps and refining business. Chapter 10. Making Mobil Company a Salesperson. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So far, Mobil's kerosene lamps have occupied over 40% of the market share in China, with their sales points in major cities. Chen Yaowen naturally had his own calculations when he came to Mobil. He brought the Rolex watch industry chain from 1975, and these high-end watches were recently produced. Now that the goods are produced, it is necessary to find a salesperson with strong personal connections to sell them on behalf of Mobil, which is very suitable. Parker looked at the watch on Chen Yaowen's wrist with some surprise. Although Beautiful Country claims to be a manufacturing powerhouse, it has never seen such exquisite watches before. He was about to give a few compliments when Chen Yaowen promptly put down the sleeves of his shirt, and the high-end watch was immediately covered by the fabric. After both sides took their seats, Chen Yaowen picked up some irrelevant topics and joked. Parker absent-mindedly responded with a few words, his mind still thinking about the watch he had just glanced at. After chatting for about 20 minutes, Parker finally couldn't help but say, "Chen, I'm really sorry. We have a heartless invitation and hope to see the watch in your hand." Chen Yaowen and others said this, but he still had to pretend to be unaware. "Raise your wrist again and say, did you say that?" Pike saw the exquisite watch again and nodded in surprise. Chen Yaowen took off his watch and then took out several more watches from the cabinet. Hand one to Parker and then hand it over to others for inspection. After receiving the watch, Parker flipped it over and over again. As soon as he got started, he could feel that the dial was particularly transparent, and the stainless steel strap was exquisitely crafted and sturdy, exuding a high-end atmosphere overall. Especially at the edge of the dial, there is a logo similar to a crown, which Parker has never seen any watch brand on the market have this logo. "Chen, this watch should be a new brand. I don't know where you bought it from, Switzerland or Geneva." Parker held a delicate watch and praised it endlessly. In fact, during the early Han Dynasty, most of the watches in the market were pocket watches because the concept of wristwatches had not yet been popularized. It was not until 1904 that a European watchmaker dismantled a pocket watch and tied it to his wrist with two simple ropes, and the first generation of watches emerged. After 20 years of development, watches are usually made of materials such as leather, rubber, nylon cloth, stainless steel, etc., to make watch straps. The watch head that displays time is tied around the wrist, which looks very simple and far from the exquisite and high-end crown watches given by Chen Yaowen. Chen Yaowen smiled and said, "Parker President, this watch is produced by us ourselves. I named it Crown, but it hasn't been widely launched yet. These two are just small gifts I'm giving you." Chen Yaowen is purely talking nonsense. This watch has the logo of the crown, which is actually the luxury brand Rolex in the future. However, at this time Rolex has not yet made a name for itself. It is purely a small workshop in Geneva and has not started using the crown logo. Chen Yaowen transferred the production line of Rolex watches from 1975, and currently Jiaodong is vigorously producing watches. And Chen Yaowen needs to find a salesperson to sell these watches. Mobil has a huge sales network worldwide, and this salesperson is very qualified. After hearing that the crown watch was an industrial product produced by Jiaodong, Parker wished he could snap out his eyeballs. Chen, what are you saying? This is your independently produced watch, and you have the industrial capability. Such exquisite and high-end watches cannot be seen in Europe. How do you produce them? Chen, can you really mass-produce this exquisite watch? What is the estimated annual production volume? If the production volume is optimistic, Mobil is willing to cooperate. Parker rubbed his chin. He didn't expect to encounter such exquisite and high-end watch products in Han country this time. Mobil does not only sell kerosene lamps, but also other miscellaneous industrial products. The quality of crown watches is excellent, and even Europe does not have such products. Parker was immediately tempted. If Mobil obtains authorization and utilizes its vast sales network, high-end products like crown watches will definitely become popular overnight. Finally, it's time to get down to business. Chen Yaowen sighed in his heart. He set up a bureau just to wait for this sentence. If it weren't for Mobil, Chen Yaowen could actually sell watches, but he couldn't quickly expand the market, which means that the profit time of watches will be extended, which he cannot accept. He needs to find a sales agent, that is, a part-time salesperson. Mobil is a monopolistic giant in the Americas, Europe, and Asia, and even in places like China, they dare to promote their products. It is estimated that only the market on the moon has not been explored yet. So in order to maximize profits, Chen Yaowen decided to find Mobil as a salesperson. Parker President, do you want to sell crown watches on behalf of others? Currently, the watches on the market include Jibai watches, Omega watches, Universal watches, Swiss Morris pocket watches, and Swiss Tissot watches. These mechanical watches are priced between $10 and $12 in Shanghai. But to be frank, these watches are all very ordinary. The crown watches are not only stylish, but also waterproof and dust-proof. If we turn on all our horsepower, the annual production will be about 200,000. As for the price, I think a single watch should not be less than $50. In 1926, Rolex created the first waterproof and dustproof watch, and now this concept was brought forward by Chen Yaowen to occupy the market ahead of time. The crown craftsmanship is enough to hang the famous watches in the hammer market. Sure enough, upon hearing these words, Parker was surprised to find that the crown watch was still waterproof and dustproof, which was a bit high-end. Parker nodded and said, Chen, 50 silver yuan per watch. We agree with this price and can produce 200,000 watches per year. This quantity is not small. Now let's discuss the matter of proxy authorization. You provide 150,000 crown watches to Mobil for sale every year, and Mobil needs to split 30% of the sales revenue. What do you think? Parker spoke calmly.